However, LNG can still find a very, very strong R3 regardless, and I wonder if Scout, wouldn't it be a little bit, you know, gauntlet down if Scout just went Ari and takes the reverse end of the matchup and then wins? That would feel really bad for,
no, don't do this
for Creme, wouldn't it? So, seems like Tristana Milio, again, do they feel like Milio Tristana was something that they had a lot of agency with, though, is my core thing, right? Do they want Arky's Nocturne instead as well? I feel like that could also be a pretty decent rotation here, because that's when you start to, you know, kind of have a composition that comes together, right? Then you force LNG to have to go towards bands like the Rakan, bands like the Nautilus themselves as well. We'll see as OMG hovering over the Kha'Zix. I wouldn't like it, I'll be honest. I think it pales in comparison to the Nocturne if they were looking at it compositionally, but they bait us with the hovers, they land back on the Milio, so they feel like they still wanted that part of the composition. But again, in my head, Mazel, Milio, he wants to go backwards, he wants to kite it out, right? OMG, if they've got the Nico, are you then going to just fully commit to allowing LNG to dive into you? I guess we'll have to see, as Annie definitely sets up for a little more forward movement on LNG's part.
And also just decisiveness in the hand of Scout, which I love, man. Again, when this guy's been on a tear, we saw him on the Nico last game. I think that's enough said. But also just for LNG, has been such a strong force. Him and Gala, the carry duos there. But this Annie is definitely going to have to come online. You see how passionate, how much this game is in an intense mode for OMG. They want this series to go to a head, and they want to make sure this second phase is honing the edge of their first 3 picks. They get the Kai'Sa ban towards Gala. Don't want to give him any of those pentakills today, but LNG will be focusing down Aki. That's the Nocturne already banned.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it feels like LNG got the news, right? I feel like they understood that for OMG, a pick like Nocturne would be quite disruptive to the entire flow of the game. But decide against it, land on a Felios this time, so Zaya's up if Gala wants it, and that would also mean that they can very freely go Rakan, and I don't have to be the first one to tell you, but Milio doesn't really pressure Rakan that hard inside the lane. Yes, you can definitely stop him from finding engaged, but even the Q roll back out is kind of slow, so you have to be on top of the target, or you have to be the one getting W'd yourself. So this is a very free Zaya Rakan for the side of LNG. It's if they want it, smile, as they hover over our support once, it makes me question myself. So OMG, this 4-5 has to be hard hitting from the jungle top from Shanji. They've got counter pick. It has to be something where they can really take a lot of control. And I ask for hard hitting. He gives us Darius, and now Arky also has to find something to supplement this. If he goes to Juani, I expect full top side control here for OMG and straight up fist fighting for them.
We will talk to you later, Abel, as it is going to be all focus on Shanji, Aki, and even Creme on this Nico. The response pick is not that Rakan. It is the Nautilus, so some engage, some single target focus as well. But OMG, they are going all in here. It's all or nothing in this series as well for them, and we've seen Shanji dominate on this Darius before.
Yeah, we certainly have. There is a fair amount of lockdown, though. I do worry a lot when it comes to the team fights for Shanji, how well he's going to be able to perform, right? I feel like there's a lot of CC and a lot of disruption for him, but inside this lane, he should be able to dominate Zika. And I feel like for Arky, you have to be around the top side. Do not let Tarzan interrupt this lane. Do not let him gank it. Do not ever allow for intervention from any outside sources. Gank it yourself. Get the Darius ahead. Turn this into a really awkward game where there's like a 2-item Darius at 18, 19 minutes. And that's something that LNG always have to have something to deal with. They always have to dump their ultimates into it, Mazel. Otherwise, you know, things start to look a little bit bloody. And LNG could be going to a game 3 off the back of the pick.
It'd be a little bit difficult. You heard from LNG themselves, streaky. They haven't been consistent, but since that 2-0 loss to IG, they feel changed. They feel like they're putting in that extra effort to make it happen. They love to strike early, and they're going to need to do so here as well, with maybe trying to find those avenues against this very tough OMG comp, who OMG on a 6-win streak do not want to get 2-0 swept in our match of the week here as we're headed into game number 2. I can't wait to see what happens. Let the blood flow and let the gyos ring.
Loud as ever. And the fans think about equal. If I had to give it a rating, I wouldn't say one was particularly louder than the other. So nice to see that here, even in a weighted arena. That is Sujo for LNG. Now, do we do the early game stuff now, Mazel? I feel like we should do the early game stuff now.
The early game stuff. Well,
Yeah,
I do want to say, we had obviously all the talk about Gala versus Abel, you know, the new gun versus the Sheriff. Game number 1, the Sheriff is gone. All right. I don't know what happened there. Game 2, it's going to be something where we're going to have to check in later because I do expect OMG to fully highlight this top trio of the map and see how quickly they can find skirmishing advantages there. And Aki was very aggressive last game as well into Tarzan. We'll see if that continues to be so. But right now, both junglers starting on the bottom side, that's where my spotlight is here early in this game.
Yep, absolutely agree. Both junglers need to get involved in their respective powerful lanes. I think for Tarzan, he's actually making Gala and Hung Leash, so it seems like he's going to be popping up towards the top side. Wants to cover what could be a very, very dangerous lane to handle, of course. And Shanji's actually behind Zika right now. We're looking at the bottom lane. It's like a pretty meaty trade is going to come through. He just sidestepped the Q. That was nuts. Good job, Shanji. Gets 5 stacks. Trade's about equal, but you have to remember Darius is the one sustaining his kit. And I feel like our camera is going to be panned up here a lot this game.
And we have seen Shanji pull this out before, right? This will be his 4th game played in the summer split at least, but it is something into the matchup itself that you're taking to try and dominate lane, to try to cancel out this Cassante who has risen so heavily. I mean, the man even has a copy pasta to his name. And it's something that Shanji has been willing to be comfortable on and go for. And it's something OMG have relied on.
Yeah, at times they have relied on it, right? So let's see how heavily they have to rely on it in this game. Tarzan spotted out on this wall and he knows it. He's still clearing up towards the top side. Aki, where have I seen this before? As he throws up the
like
question mark frog. It is like a mirror. So Tarzan is actually going to the top side. It's not a wave 3 crash from Shanji, but he has an idea that there's something fishy going on. It's going to force him out maybe from his Krugs. Both junglers have smite. We'll go over to Tarzan.
Oh, yeah, Tarzan gets the better of him. And Zika ends up coming around the corner. Tarzan
now he can
cleans up his
reinvade the red.
Krugos.
This is the issue. He can reinvade the red, though, because Tarzan committed the smite to the Krugs. Shanji also has first move. Guess who has first move as well? It's Creme, because he's on the Nico lane. Ooh. Had me guessing for a second. Shanji will now just proxy the wave. So
I'm going to ask you to do Pucker.
I feel like, look, if Gala did, I have to imagine Tarzan did, right? Because whenever you see something like that happening, you always assume the worst. Now, I like this from Aki. Aki's actually going. Aki's actually going from top to bottom here. He's got bottom lane priority. He wants to deny Tarzan the ability to get the scuttle.
I love this, man.
Tarzan's
he still has his whole
it.
top side pretty much to go, but he's like, no, I want to deny Tarzan.
Tarzan might get some... No, it's going to die for sure. It's 3 seconds. Okay, Aki was having a little bit of a dance time. You know, just a little bit of face-to-face.
Can't get Scout towards this lane either, or towards this way, because Creme just pressing him up with the Nico matchup.
Yeah, it's really, really awkward for him. Clears the ward out in the pixel brush at least, but yeah, Tarzan shut out of the early game a little bit here. He's going to have to just retreat back to a full clear. Do you get spotted out when you do it? I'm sure you must have to. But either way, he just cleared the ward, so OMG know he's there. But he's not going to look for an invade or an aggressive play on the bottom side. So a lot of early jungle interaction, specifically just around the top side of the map.
He's just bolting it here.
Yeah, because he's expecting Tarzan to either be behind these guys or actually ganking himself. So both Aki and Tarzan are actually reading each other quite well.
Playing 4D chess, but they don't even know that they're playing each other. Oh, this kid's copying all my moves. We do get that back into completed though in the end. Tarzan gonna end up walking away, going for that clear. I think Aki needs to do this because he still has to clear his whole top side, right? The wolves and the blue still were up after that kind of aggressive pathing he took. I hope he'll get back there and take a potential lead here.
Yeah, definitely can. You can also pick up the scuttle, stop that from going over to Tarzan's hands. What's at the very least going to be good for Tarzan is, in this weird way, he's going to be temporarily ahead in XP. Not only because he's already naturally cleared more camps, but these are second rotation camps, right? These first camps spawning up for Aki, still those first ones that spawned up. So technically a little bit, you know, they're worth a little bit less in the XP department if you're picking them up, whilst the average level is still quite low in the game. Rubber banding doesn't quite kick in yet, so still going to be kind of behind. Once he picks up everything, then he's going to be back at parity, if not ahead. But definitely behind on that tempo. As swing and a miss from Scout.
Wave clear, man. Wave clear. Come on.
Yeah,
Just want to see
my
the
bad,
particle
my bad.
animations.
Yeah, really cool skin, right? The anniversary one. Big,
Yeah,
big old
it
Teemo.
actually is like one of the coolest timbers. It's just giant buff Teemo. Why not?
Yeah. Just want to point out there, Pathmaker from Zika stopping the apprehend, that pullback, and he already had 3 stacks on him. So if Zika ate that pullback, I feel like Shanji would have actually just solo killed him potentially. So
he does have
nice
the guillotine.
timing. He does.
Okay, we'll see if maybe there's a guillotine bot lane is able to go straight in, but takes the blade collar to the face, or maybe to the back. The Scout's on his way here, trying to make it around the corner. Won't have the legs enough to get there. As Aki and Creme actually on the roam down here. See if they can get a capitalization. Scout will have to stop his back.
Seems like he will. As okay, all out. This is a bit awkward for Shanji.
This is in some trouble, but he's gonna look to turn it around. Zika not really feeling confident in that trade.
No, I'm not sure how it started off. Maybe Shanji was just greeding for the plate, and Zika dumps his entire kit into him before greeding so aggressively. Either way, Ghost traded for ultimate, so Zika holding onto his flash is pretty critical in just generally surviving and trying to reposition against Darius. Fair amount of outplay potential is available to them. As this dragon's being taken down, it doesn't seem like LNG wholly want to contest. Maybe if Tarzan kills the Grump, he gets level 6. Maybe that's what they're angling for, but I feel like even if he does he get 6? Is that what that's for? Okay, so if they can fight now, it's good.
Okay, but they're still in a bit of a sticky situation.
Ooh.
OMG will make it out with first dragon and out alive as well.
Yeah, I like the intention from LNG, but just not enough time afforded to them for it. As surely he wouldn't.
What's going on here, huh? What's happening here? By the way,
the brush
Zika,
moving.
Zika is dirty farming in the top side. Proxy farming, gotta love it. Some advantage. You know, you don't have to fight the Darius if you don't look at him.
Exactly. Very smart. Gonna step away from doing it now, though. Doesn't want to get collapsed on by Aki. Always a bit of a dangerous game, proxy farming. But when you know where everyone is on the map, it's much less a dangerous gambit and far more, now I don't have to lane against this champion that can run me down at any moment's notice. So it will actually kind of net them this Herald in the long run. I guess actually Aki's still here, but when you take a look at the minimap, right, resets came out from Gala and Hung. Gala, I think, started to walk up towards the top side. Hung certainly already has level 6 as well, so if they go for this here, it's going to be really risky.
Oh, that's a full combo onto Creme, and the depth charge following up, but Scout really out of damage here. You got the pop blossom back, and Scout steps back in, taking it. The dredge line connects, though, and first blood goes right into Scout's little old pockets.
Really, really well played by LNG to find Creme there. I mean, Creme just wants to check in. He can see that Aki wants to get into the river. He's doing his best to also do the same thing, but Scout is just man-marking the entrance, and very easy to pick off there. Great dredge lines from Hung. As he commits in, Tarzan, he's got smite, so it's Aki. Goes over to OMG. So no steal will be afforded, but the Herald, that goes over to LNG. So now they've got the opportunity to just get a couple of plates off a tower, or just push somebody else ahead. Aki really wants to push this lane forward, though, and if he can get in, I mean, there's actually no wards. It's a bit of a blind spot here for Zika. Zika should, by all rights and purposes, be dead.
He does have flash. And he is Cassante.
I mean, if you flash apprehend this, he just dies. Like, I don't know. Well, OMG don't want to necessarily flip. Oh, I didn't realize Aki expended his ultimate and the Herald. That was off picture, so perhaps that's why. All right, I take everything I said back. Apologies. I just didn't realize. Even then, I would imagine they were still going to get aggressive.
You weren't familiar with the game.
I wasn't familiar with the game, man. My bad. Scruffy's mad at me as well.
Hi, Jamada's doggo.
Yeah, and look at this again. Dredge line comes in after the fact. Good tangle barbs to at the very least deny Hung the opportunity to follow up eventually, but yeah, still connects.
Scout wanted to help out with the damage numbers a little bit, you know. Give him the extra give. It is still though something where we asked in game 1 for OMG to reach that really high bar of execution they set for themselves. I feel like it was a little easier this time around but LNG still are finding some of those leaning dominoes their way. And while it's not a lot, it's something.
Exactly. All right, you take whatever you can in places. And I feel like this topside matchup is one where if you're OMG, I mean, hell, if you're LNG, you're happy Zika hasn't like been abused and died like 2 times or 3 times yet. If you're OMG, I feel like now you're starting to approach a point where now you just have Darius on your team, right? And not that that's inherently a bad thing, but sometimes Dariuses can find themselves in situations where they're not really snowballed ahead, and then they find it very difficult to team fight because a composition like this from LNG, so much CC across the board, team fighting is going to be a bit of a nuisance here for him and his perspective into actually finding LNG members. So OMG have to create a lot of disruption, which, again, it's only really Aki who can look like this, but unfortunately,
Scout can't get it. Tippers is available, but no flash for Scout, so you can't find that big combo. But Tarzan actually needs to find a little bit of this movement for the Rift Herald because it will be coming up soon. I know our spectator is still broken, but it is going to be coming up soon. You got to find a way to use it. So I particularly would like to see either Scout or Gala get this one. They're going to TP to try to make this fight happen, though, as Abel walks out. You do have Scout, though, with this Tibbers back and available.
Yep, exactly. Tibbers being there makes any more scary. Dragon's up in 20 seconds, though. That's what this is all about, right? If they found that pick, then that second Dragon feels a little easy to pick up. Forcing through the bottom side of the map. I feel like maybe they acknowledge that perhaps they weren't necessarily going to get mid-prio, so they're trying to just trade out, but nope. Tarzan has a Herald, so he's going to drop this. Scout's going to get at least 2 plates. Maybe 3 if he's lucky. More likely just 2.
Looks like OMG, just 2 at this point.
Alright, so
still a happy camper.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the only big issue for OMG here is that because you've got Darius with Flash and Ghost, he doesn't have Teleport, whereas Zika does, and he's actually in base, waiting maybe for a fight to break out. Scout's not going to fall.
It would be a 4v5, and a nice preemptive move from Scout will get Creme knocked out of that fight. See if Aki wants to go for a steal here over the wall. It will have a nice little warm hug, but he won't even go for it. And that's Dragon to LNG, so some objective control both ways so far in this second game.
Exactly. 1 apiece, Infernal Salt. I think it's 2 times back-to-back, right? We had Infernal in game number 1 as well.
Well, I guess for 2 teams that focus objective so much, it's fitting.
Yeah. And it means that they're more likely to fight over it as well. We had...
Oh, no. That was not the right decision. As TP actually utilized it from Zika just in case, but I don't know if they needed that. And, yep. There's 1 rocket jump too far for Man, and 1 rocket jump too far for Abel.
You know, I feel like Zika pulled the trigger on that teleport because if... Look, I'm going to be real. If an AD carry is rocket jumping on top of 2 people whilst knowing that the jungler is likely nearby, you're like, okay, someone's got to be here, right? But no.
That's Abel just Abel.
Yeah, Abel... You know, I was going to say he's having a Jackie Love moment, but that is actually... Abel actually just does things like that from time to time. So it's actually just an Abel moment.
It fits the genius ADC. I love it, because him, Jackie Love, and iBoy are the 3 genius ADCs in the LPL. So, you know, it all works out. I guess it's on brand. That's what it is, on brand.
Certainly is. And do we need a replay? Does it have to happen? I mean, look, it's funny. Do we get T-Tools for it? No T-Tools. But
just
feel like maybe Tristana, maybe from Abel's point of view, he got a T-Tools considering how many times he got knocked up in about half a second there.
I love that Gala didn't want to take the damage, just wanted also just use that Feather Storm. Yeah, I don't even need to take damage for this. We do see, though, Rift Herald was spawned. Shanji already on that because of some of that push he had gotten in lane. Aki's going to join him, so we will see that given over to OMG.
We will. And you know, Mazel, I might have to hold that point. Maybe Creme dies, but maybe Nico Wave Clear is a bit too powerful. How many times have we seen a team draft a very, very... What I wouldn't necessarily call, because I don't always like the term strong side, weak side, but what is a very high resource top lane like pick. You know, we had the Camille the other day out of IG, they didn't play into it. Now we've got Darius and OMG. And it feels like he's kind of just been left to his own devices. He's actually going to be forced to go. Is he dead?
That's a flash
It's got a
out.
Flash.
There was a scout flash available right there. Like, he is literally just toying with his food on this Annie. That's kind of nuts. Hung, though, getting a big chunk. Tarzan goes in to try to catch out Abel, but ends up turning on the Ppgod. He got a flash everywhere coming out from OMG, but it's Gala who ends up getting Ppgod. There's Abel, there's Zika's, and it's so many that it doesn't even matter. You got to put some goggles on here to see it all, as LNG are continuously finding advantages in this series.
Yeah, beer goggles aren't on for LNG, and they're seeing 20/20 vision, and I think it's pretty clear to me that OMG right now are just kind of lacking a bit of direction in the early game. They're not entirely sure what they want to do here into LNG as a whole, whereas for LNG, they've been ensuring that Shanji's not been growing a lead, and they've been giving Gala a lot of space and resources throughout a lot of this game. Now, I guess in return, at the very least, OMG have a Herald. We'll talk about it in a second, because this all happens over a control war, of all things. So Hung just goes in, because he feels like Arky's disrespecting me, and I don't really blame him. Tarzan finds Abel, but does get pushed away a little bit into finding Ppgod here. It's just the pullback, 3 autos, even through the hill, it's not enough. This teleport here from Creme, we actually didn't get to see, but they do find Tarzan on the back, as we was focusing on Abel getting Cassante in the bottom lane.
Add that to the copy pasta at this point.
Yeah.
As we do have to see some proactivity, though, from OMG. They have to get this Rift Herald down. They have an easy target here in the mid lane as well, and a bunch of bodies to back it up, as it should be the next focus. And with Creme coming out and Dragon coming up in 40 seconds, they have a lot of breathing room.
Yeah, I feel like Shanji might end up giving up top tower for this. We'll see, because obviously he's got no teleport, right? So he has to kind of just, you know, show up. It's not really his fault. But someone's got to cover. And it feels like if they just let it go, they play for the tower here, then they go into the Dragon, then maybe it's fine. But for LNG, they're still going to be happy with Zika getting more resources back into him, and then they should realistically be able to make their way back into the river anyway. So
True.
For OMG, they really have to pull the trigger super early. Like, they have to draw their battle lines out, and as soon as somebody oversteps that they can actually burst out, they have to just murder them for it. They don't necessarily have that much vision on the bottom side here to catch this rotation from Scout, but it doesn't even seem like LNG above them. So they take the tower trade in the top side for this Dragon. Kind of surprised that LNG weren't more willing, but perhaps just feeling on this one-item spike from both Creme and Shanji that the fact that the Darius was already there could be too much of an issue to deal with. Speaking of issues to deal with, Scout.
Ooh, a little bit of a catch out. Another TP with the all-in from LNG, and that's exactly where you want to target. Shanji goes down, and the guillotine falls on himself.
Cut off from all angles. Very, very unfortunate for Shanji, but it's a good collapse again from LNG. It's not the first time that they've done it on the side lane this series, or even this game. Just being able to catch out. This time it was Shanji. I guess technically the laning phase was still going on when Abel made that rocket jump happen, but teleport came out from Zika. All the same in both occasions. So 2 dragons apiece, or 2 dragons on OMG. That's the price for them. 1 dragon for LNG. I don't feel like Soul is going to be something that's necessarily going to come to fruition in this game. I feel like it's a little bit too far away. Given how these compositions are likely to play out, Mazel, I feel like as soon as this Baron's up, siege and control around this area is going to be huge. And then looking for a fight around it, just based off that lack of information, is going to be the next critical part of this game.
I do like that OMG are able to take a structure for themselves, though, in the mid, so it gives them a little bit of less defensive things to worry about for LNG. But you do have second item completed for Gala, and that does become a little bit scary with the Xayah. You also have Baron now coming up on the table, so I expect a lot more vision increasingly put from LNG over here on the top side.
Don't really want to give OMG control, even though, you know, they're not, I will say LNG's composition is a lot scarier to walk into when it comes to like fog versus fog, right, and dealing with vision reclaiming. But even then, you don't really want to walk into OMG, potentially give Shanji a reset, right? And that's always going to be the scary thing in those team fights. If Abel and Shanji can get rolling, it's not like the game is entirely over, you know? I feel like my tone might be giving off those kind of signals and signs. I feel like it's just, for me, again, the LNG execution floor, super low, right? And that's something I'll always value quite highly. For OMG, again, a little more of a nuanced approach, and they weren't really able to push Shanji ahead in that laning phase like we would have liked to have seen. So now he is in a bit of an awkward position in terms of those
We have to
fights,
remember, this is a little bit of a revenge match for LNG. They were knocked out of the spring round 3 in playoffs by OMG in a 3-1 fashion. And this is the next time they get to see them. And it's not good blood between them either. LNG specifically really wanted to make things happen here after taking that crushing 2-0 defeat against IG. And they do look different. They look like a honed machine, especially when they get these low bar of execution comps.
Do agree. And I think they've just got a really good read on the series in terms of those
Oh,
drafts.
they found the engage.
Look at
Scout
again.
finds the 3-man in the back. The Pop Blossom does not matter at that point. Shanji's trying to get something, but Gala outplays him, and Scout gets another one. That is so big, and Scout is literally just on another level here with LNG.
He really is. They just don't care about what OMG have got going for them, and I don't blame them. LNG roll into this game with basically S-tier champions in every single role. OMG walk away with what? Eco, Tristana, Emilio is a little bit weaker than he was previous patch. And that ultimate from Scout just dissipates OMG. There's no hope of winning. I think, again, it's just engaging onto the front line, kind of distracting OMG to kind of respond, and Scout,
God,
stun,
no.
depth charge into... Oh, it's just a massacre.
Pop Blossom who? Holy
ridiculous.
cow, I love this decisiveness though. As soon as I saw that locked in for Scout, like, this man's gonna make the difference, because you give him the tools to do so and he will make it happen for you. That was some of the praise I gave to LNG when they got Scout, right? Scout came from EDG, his longtime home. Spent so much time there. He won championships there. It is so interesting to see him come through and really make his name known as a new breed of Scout here, as another era in a chapter in his book.
That was always going to be the question for him as well. Being on EDG for so long, making his name there. Always being in that conversation of one of the best in the world. Forget just the LPL. And Master Spring Split wasn't necessarily the ceilings and heights that he wanted. You still see moments of that wonderful, wonderful Scout that we're all familiar with, and he's trying to rebuild that momentum again. And he's definitely doing a good job of doing it in this series.
Oh, Pop Blossom,
Creme.
decisive moment from Creme, but he just gets blown out of the water, man! Save the forest, save something, but OMG can't save nothing! Shanji's trying to get the guillotines, but the guillotine has been dulled, and LNG are honed like a knife straight into the heart of oh my god!
OMG today will not be rewarded. The fans, that is, the faithful LNG, are ruthless in this game here. They'll pick up this 4th dragon of the game. We've still got Baron for 60 seconds. It's not going to be the most structures in the world, but I think you can see the trend of where these fights are going to start going very, very quickly. Gala's going to pick up this tier 2. Maybe they can pick up one more on the bottom side as well. Yeah, they should be able to. So LNG do open up the map even more with this Baron. And that fight was won wholly engaged by OMG. Creme specifically just looking for that ult, right? He forces out Featherstorm from Gala and finds 3 members. But it's still not enough. And you can see it's just awkward, right? As soon as that Featherstorm is down, you can actually see there's a brief moment where OMG all just back away. They can't walk in.
Yeah.
Despite that ultimate coming down. It's such a massive moment. But again, there's no way to reasonably follow up. That Xayah pick comes out huge, and the rest of the composition as well just slaughters OMG while Shanji tries to make something happen. Not his
You're
day,
still looking at item spikes. You're still looking at trying to make things happen for OMG, but then you look across the other side. You got 3 items now for Scout and Gala, and it just gets even more terrifying. OMG do not have a lot of vision control outside of their base on this top side of the map. They have a couple, but it's mostly bot side, and it's LNG looking to siege on this top side of the map as well, just to open up another avenue to break the base.
Exactly. And now, with all of these tier 2s down, they can just wait. Wait for the next Baron. Suffocate OMG, take jungle camps, keep the vision line high, keep them guessing, and then eventually they'll have to check in. And once they check in, there's no doubt that Scout's going to find another massive ultimate. And that's the thing, it's just going to be a cycle which I don't know how OMG break. That's the biggest problem for me. They're never going to get any priority anywhere. Shanji can't really side lane anymore.
Okay,
And,
you got a little
Aki
bit of
has just
catch
been
out and
dragged in.
roll out. The health bars just don't exist for OMG. They literally are just getting diced away from themselves. And Gala, he's lighting them up. He's found a triple. He's looking for more. That's a quadra. Can Gala, the pentakill king, find another one? It looks like the goal is just this Nexus and a 2-0 for LNG right now. Look at that, man. He doesn't even care because LNG wanted to make a statement. They wanted to say, I'm done with the ups and downs. We lost to IG. That was a wake-up call, and they have woken up to a destructive force. And a 2-0 means a stamp in the right direction for LNG.
Crushing victory for LNG. Complete domination start to finish. There was no time in this series, let alone this game, where it felt like they weren't going to pull ahead and close this one out. And like you said, wake up call the IG series had